gas giants. It's also the single largest FDI into India to date. BP is all set to pick up a 30% stake in 23 oil and gas blocks of Reliance Industries. This is a story Cnbc TV 18 broke first in March 2010, Ilan.
That's right, Shireen. A historical deal from many angles. RIL and BP will also be entering into a 50-50 joint venture for sourcing and marketing of gas. RIL will get an aggregate payment of $7.2 billion for the deal. BP will be making staged payments to RIL through the year.
And Mukesh Ambani has called this multi-year alliance a historic milestone for the company, which will have a profound impact on India's energy future and energy security. Ambani says this is a transformational partnership and that they went through 2 years of negotiation before the deal finally was finalized. And finally, it now marks BP's largest ever investment into any single basin.
I am delighted to formally announce a transformational partnership between BP and RIL. With this partnership, BP and Reliance will unleash their combined expertise to further our shared goal of building this 21st century infrastructure for natural gas for India. This partnership between BP and RIL has given us the strength and confidence in heralding a new chapter in India's energy security. This partnership is great encouragement for India and Reliance to climb even greater heights. And through this partnership, we look forward to contributing to India's journey to achieve its true potential in the coming years and decades. For every dollar that BP puts in the JV, RIL is committed to putting $1 in that JV, and for every dollar that BP invests in our exploration and production blocks, as RIL still continues to own 60% or 70% in some cases of the overall block, we will put in $2.
Well, Mukesh Ambani also saying that the deal will unlock value for every shareholder, but BP CEO Robert Dudley on his part said that this particular deal was in line with BP's strategy to ally with strong national players and also make its presence felt in emerging markets.
The two companies have been talking together for a long time. We have a block together already, and I think that is part of that cooperation that really has led to the teams working together so closely technically. That deal was signed in December 2009, and so we've been working together since then. As we invest in this partnership together over time, we will create the largest single foreign direct investment in India.
Well, that's Bob Dudley there on the partnership between Reliance and BP. The deal makers have spoken, and now it's the turn of the government. Oil Secretary S. Sundaresan says the government is currently examining the Reliance BP deal. He also clarified that both companies have not sought formal approval yet from the government, but they have sounded the government out informally about this transaction. Sundaresan also said the deal needs government's approval as these are NELP blocks that are involved.
These are all NELP blocks. Participating interest, if it is to be transferred to a third party, has to be with the permission of the government. As and when they apply to us, as I've always stated in such circumstances, we will examine it on merits and come to a decision.
Now we have a 360-degree analysis of the deal right here on India Business Hour. Sajid Mangat and Nanta Rai will be joining us with the details of the deal. Nanta, if we could come to you first. You broke the story right here on Cnbc TV 18 on March 2010, and finally it's gone through February 2011. But take us through the contours of the deal. What are the synergies behind it?
Well, it's going to definitely enhance India's energy security. That is what both Bob Dudley and Mukesh Ambani have said. But of course, the really big headline being that this is going to be the single largest FDI inflow into the country. Mukesh Ambani also saying it is very rare that a country gets this magnitude of FDI in one financial year, and that is really a moot point that by March 31st, 2013 is when Reliance Industries is expected to get that aggregate payment of of $7.2 billion. So for example, and some details coming out from a Morgan Stanley report, that the first payment of $2 billion will be made upfront, a further $2.3 billion payment will be made on completion of the deal, and a final payment will be made in October of $3 billion. This is important considering that Morgan Stanley was one of the advisors to BP. So those are some of the transaction details that have come across. But good news for Reliance Industries' balance sheet, because it's going to get the $7.2 billion, providing it with a large cushion. It can deleverage and concentrate on other businesses such as power, foreign to power, as well as telecom.
All right, Nantara, hang in there. Sajid, Nantara broke this story in March 2010. You're currently outside Reliance headquarters in Mumbai. We understand that both sides have been in talks now for about 2 years. Things were stalled, and that's because of the big oil spill that BP had to face. And on account of that, this deal was put on the back burner, and then talks revived, towards the latter half of 2010. You've studied and analyzed what both sides have had to say. Take us through what you've taken away from what both Mukesh Ambani and Bob Dudley have had to say.
From the BP point of view, you need to look at the fact that Bob Dudley has been a very aggressive CEO for BP. Last month, he announced renewal of the dividend payment after the oil spill charges which he paid to the US government and to the US people there. But he also did the Devon deal, but that was on the oil side, and this is on the gas side. And so it's a big deal from the BP point of view, because BP has a limited presence in India. It has a limited partnership with Reliance before this deal came in through a block where it has 50% of stake, and the remaining is held by Reliance Industries. So from the BP point of view, it's a big entry into the Indian oil and gas market. But some of the analysts, especially Morgan Stanley, are talking about commercialization and reforms in as far as gas pricing is concerned to be the kicker for this deal. If the gas pricing is going to be limited by the government or by the ECOM, then the kicker for the deal is not going to be as significant as envisaged by some of the analysts. From a Reliance point of view, this deal does give them $10.2 billion initially, and if the performance linked incentives are concerned, are taken into account, it's nearly $9 billion. That values the entire Reliance E&P business between $24 to $30 billion. Now, considering the fact the current market cap of Reliance and the price of Reliance, that's a significant premium to the kind of valuation that E&P business gets today at current market price. That's primarily because of the kind of delay in ramp up from KG-D6. There has been a slight fall in the output from KG-D6, and the outlook for gas pricing are some of the reasons why this has been a dampener and valuations have come down of late. But this BP deal is going to be a huge kicker and may bring in some kind of upgrades for Reliance going forward, because it now has an international player like BP, which will have 30% stake on the 23 blocks, including KG-D6. Two values is E&P business, and BP has given a premium to Reliance as far as that is concerned. From the other businesses point of view, it does free up nearly $8 to $10 billion of cash for Reliance going forward. Though Mr. Ambani did say that for every $1 BP brings in, Reliance will have to put in $2 there. But the fact is that Reliance has a capex of nearly $25 to $30 billion for its 4 or 5 business segments which Reliance has been targeting, and the cash flows will now be more useful in those segments, especially the petchem segment, which has a capex of nearly $10 to $12 billion. Telecom, where $4 to $5 billion of investment is required over the next 5 years. Retail is expected to see some ramp up. Another fact which I need to bring in here is the kind of JV which we are not focusing on. The JV is a 50-50 JV for sourcing and marketing of gas in India, which basically means that Reliance is going to get into the sourcing and marketing segment in a big way into India, getting all the gas from across the globe into India, and that would mean that there would be a lot of pricing pressure in terms of gas market in India going forward in the next 4 or 5 years. So that's one important announcement which we are ignoring as of now, but it will become a bit significant ticker for Reliance going forward, or for the entire gas market going forward.
All right, Sajid, many thanks for joining us with the details of what both companies have, of course, publicly announced. And Sajid was just talking about analysts and brokerages re-rating the stock. In fact, I've got one brokerage report that's just come in, and this one is from Merrill Lynch. And Merrill Lynch has very clearly said that they believe this acquisition by BP will help re-rate Reliance's E&P valuation and bring back investor faith in Reliance's E&P assets. So these are just the first cuts, brokerages reacting to the news.